Hello, welcome to Jessie at Home. In this video I am going to show you how to make this flower using the Boy Flower Maker, and I'm going to show you how to make a flower using two colors. Okay, you can make them using one color or you can make them using two colors. I'm showing you in this video how to make them using two colors. We're going to make the outer flower itself out of this red, and this yarn that I'm using is actually Red Heart Super Saver. It works really well to make this nice big flower. So it's nice and thick and has some body to it. Okay, we're using the outer flower is going to be red, the inside of the flower is going to be yellow. It's going to kind of look like a poinsettia is my goal here. So we have the Boy Flower Maker, we have some scissors, we have the little needle that came with the flower maker, and we have the little hook that came with the flower maker. I'm going to move some of my tools off to the side so we can get going. To begin with, you need the yarn that you're making the flower out of. You keep it attached to your ball. You do not have to cut this yarn until the very end of making the flower part itself. Okay, so we have the tail end and we have the working end, or the end that's still attached to the ball. I'm going to take the tail end towards me, the working end away from me, and I'm going to twist a loop by pinching this little fold and twisting away from me. And I'm actually going to twist twice. Okay, and now I'm going to place this loop onto the little hook on the side of my flower maker. And for now I'm going to hold the tail end just until I've gotten this flower going a little bit, and then I'll be able to let go and everything will stay on. Now with this flower maker I have numbered it. I have numbered it in the order that the boy instructions recommend, which is when you're looking at the flower maker this way, you have this little blip, this little lock for your yarn right here in front of you. This is peg number 1, and it works around 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. As I said, I numbered them this way because this is the way that the actual directions recommend, and I like to try to follow the directions when possible. Though sometimes it's fun to break the rules. In this case I went ahead and followed the directions. So now, wrapping the flower, once you get the hang of it, it's very easy. You're working in a clockwise motion, and you start off by bringing your yarn in between pegs 1 and 12, and then straight across in between pegs 6 and 7. And since we're going in a clockwise motion, that means now this is peg 6, and we're going to wrap around peg 6. So we came in between peg 6 and 7, and now we're wrapping around peg 6, so coming back in between peg 6 and 5. And now we're going over to peg 12. Okay, so we're going back to in between pegs 1 and 12 again. Okay, we're going back to there, and we're wrapping around 12. And now we're going to actually be counting down on each side. So we wrapped around 7, we wrapped around 6, now we're going to wrap around 5. We wrapped around 12, so now we're wrapping around 11, and I've caught myself over here. Wrapping around 11. I'm trying to do this without sticking my arm in the view. We did 5, so now we're wrapping around 4. We did 11, so now we're wrapping around 10. Okay, and you're going to keep on going with this. Wrapped around 10, now 3, now 9, now 2, and you can see I'm using my other hand to kind of hold these loops down as I wrap. It makes it so that I'm not accidentally catching them on this little, you see that little hook up there? I don't want to catch them there. I don't want my flower to be too tight. I want these loops to stay low, so I'm using my other hand to hold my loop low. Okay, so I'm wrapping around 2, around 8, around 1, around 7. So now it looks like you're done, only you want to wrap 3 times around every single peg, not just once. So keep on going. 12, 6, 11, 5, 10, oopsie. See, I just undid a whole bunch. But since I know I'm going clockwise, I can see the last one I did here was 12, so now 11, 5, 10, 4, 9, 3, 8, 2, 7, 1. I've wrapped around everything twice. 6, back to 12 again. 5, 11, 4, 10, 3, 9, 2, 8, 1 is wrapped around 3 times, but 7 still only has 2, so I need to go around 7 again. Now I've done everything 3 times. This is where you have to cut your yarn because you're doing your center a different color. So I cut leaving a really nice long tail, okay? And then I thread that tail onto my needle, into my needle here. There we go. And I pop it through the center. Okay, you see this? There's a center hole. I pop this through the center, leaving my yarn wrapped around number 7 and only number 7. Pop that through the center hole. Now you have 2 options. You can tie this by unpicking this little knot thing here and then tying these 2 together, or you can wait till the end. I like to wait to the end. So I'm just going to kind of hold on to this end as I work the next step, so that in the end I have all 4 ends to tie together into one knot rather than having 2 separate knots. Now it's time for color number 2. You want to take about 3 feet of color number 2, and you do have to cut it. Thread it onto your needle. Now some people like this method where you fold your yarn over your needle, you pinch, you pull your needle out, and you have this little fold and you push that through. Okay, if that works for you, then that's awesome. Okay, now we are once again starting in between 6 and 7. Here is 6 and here is 7. I'm sorry, I've used this several times now and it's hard to see the numbers, especially in this light. I should probably have used a silver Sharpie instead of a black one. Maybe when I redo the numbers I will, and it'll be a little clearer to see. So I'm going to come up between 6 and 7. And then you want to go down exactly across from that, which is actually going to be between 1 and 2. I'm going to pull this until you have about 6 inches of tail. And so now I'm going to hold both my tails. I'm holding the tail from the end of the flower and the tail from the end of what is now the center of the flower, and I'm just going to hold them together. I'm pinching them right up here. And they're just going to stay out of my way that way. You can see I've made this little piece going right across, and I'm actually pinching it underneath with these 2 fingers. Okay, this is how I'm holding everything tight with my left hand. Now I came up between 6 and 7. Now I'm going to come up between 5 and 6. And you want to make sure that you're actually between them. You didn't accidentally cut into one flower or the other. So I'm in between 5 and 6, and I'm coming down between 11 and 12. And now I'm going to let go of where I was pinching, pull it tight, and go again in between 4 and 5, and down between 10 and 11. Keep going. In between 3 and 4, down between 9 and 10. In between 2 and 3, down between 8 and 9. Up between 1 and 2, down between 7 and 8. And that is actually all the way around. Now, you can stop here, but I like to actually cut into my flower petal as well. So I like to go in the center of the flower petal. So I'm going to come up. I just was in between 7 and 8. I'm going to come up at 7 in the middle of petal number 7 and come down in the middle of petal number 1. then come up in 6 and down through 12. Up through 5, down through 11. Up through 4, down through 10. Up through 3, down through 9. Up through 2, and down through 8. Now I have this nice size center here, okay, and I'm going to turn my piece over. You can see there's 3 ends. Piece number 4 is still attached, so I'm going to take my hook tool and I'm just going to kind of pick that off, turn this over again, find the end that I had picked off, and now I have all 4 of my ends. I'm going to cut them about even. Now you can make a square knot, you can make whatever kind of knot suits your fancy. I'm kind of fond of these overhand knots. I'm pretty good at then pushing them down to where I want them to be. But again, it depends on what you're going to do. You might not be ready to make your knot at all. You might need to kind of make a very loose square knot, because you might need to pick it out later to sew this onto something. So keep in mind what your final use for this is going to be when you're doing these knots, because you don't want to do a knot that's going to make your final use not work. And I always like to leave this really long tail so that in the end I don't have to cut these tails off until I'm absolutely ready to, once they're in a finished project. And that way I don't have to worry about having cut them too short. Alright, and I pulled this kind of tight, probably tighter than I should have, just because I'm just showing you how to make this flower. If I were just making a bunch of these, I would have done that loosely, or most likely I would have done a square knot loosely if I didn't yet know exactly what I was going to do with this finished item. Okay, so now we need to take it off, which is going to be hard to just lift them off even with this tool. It's kind of hard to kind of pull them off from here. You can, but what I like to do is push all of the petals up into that little groove that we talked about earlier, and by doing that you can tell it really loosens up the flower, so it's a lot easier to now just stick your little hook tool in and pull off the petals one at a time. Okay, then you only have to go around a little bit more than half, and then it'll just kind of come off itself the rest of the way. And there we have this little flower. Looks like something, actually it looks like something out of a Raggedy Ann and Andy little picture, but it also would work as a poinsettia if you're going for the red flower with the yellow inside for a holiday theme. Alright, so there you have your 2-color flower on your boy flower maker. Thank you.